So you must have read the prologue in your MA first year, even somewhere in the BA third year also. You must have given examinations, the writings of the prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Now you will, when you will listen to this lecture that how sir teaches in his classes to so many batches of literature, then you might understand that yes, there is a difference between my lectures and maybe many others. So, if I'm talking about the prologue to the Canterbury Tales at once fills the imagination with the simple clarities of daily fact. This is the first line which I'm using, and if you are mature enough to understand literature, you will say that yes, sir, it has a difference. The prologue to the Canterbury Tales, मैं आपके लिए थोड़ा सा लिख देता हूं. The prologue to the Canterbury, आपको मैं ये दिखाने के लिए कि कितना डिफरेंस है. The prologue to the Canterbury Tales at once fills, क्या? Fills the imagination Now you have to have that capacity to write in such a way with the simple clarities of with the simple clarities of daily facts. Chaucer's astounding originality. देखिए मैंने क्या वर्ड लगाया, ये देखिए, Chaucer's astounding. This is important. ये आपको फर्क ले महसूस कराएगा. Chaucer's astounding originality. We all know that he was an original writer, a genius. So his astounding originality had at least taken the lead, had at least taken the lead in its long and loving partnership with tradition. In its long, जो इतना लंबा सफर है, long and loving partnership and loving partnership with, yes, with tradition. Correct. Now, एक बात और है, experience has wedded authority. Experience has wedded authority. कितना अलग सा phraseology है, देखिए. Experience has wedded authority and perhaps achieved sovereignty and perhaps achieved sovereignty. किसमें? In the marriage. ठीक है, we are talking about prologue, its appreciation. Fine. Now what happened? Chaucer found a diversity of creatures in the circumstantial world about him. God's world, his own world, the world of England itself. And there lay the right raw material for all his specific gifts. In all English literature, there is not such another picture of a whole society जैसा कि प्रोलॉग में देखा गया है ऐसे ही लिखना है आपको। इन ऑल इंग्लिश लिटरेचर या इन ऑल द कैनवस ऑफ इंग्लिश लिटरेचर देर इज नो अदर कैनवस, देर इज नो अदर collage pictures of a whole society as in the prologue, and Chaucer contrived it in some 29-30 characters and 860 lines. In this way, you will write and you will start your answer when in the GDC anybody will ask any question. In the prologue, Chaucer's sense of actuality mingled with his sense of hierarchy. He presented the characters in the jumble and haphazardry of life with a mild apology for his neglect of rank, although all the ranks and vocations, the trades and the professions were there. The historian can rebuild out of the prologue with the twin ladders of church and state as they then were, with scarcely a rung missing. A high kind of gentle blood is seen in the character of knight. आपने पढ़ा भी होगा, है ना? पहला है a high kind of gentle blood is seen in the knight and his son squire. See how chronological I am moving to explain you. The land owing Franklin, the land owing Franklin represents a lesser gentry. Then the learned professions appear in the sergeant at law. Sergeant at law, and then the doctor. The merchant stands for the upper reaches of commerce, for the new class of wool exporters and exchange manipulators, beginners in capitalism, while the haberdasher and his associates represent the slightly smaller fry of London traders, though each was shapely for to be an alderman. Yes, how can we forget so many questions? The wife of Bath. The wife of Bath, a provincial, was a cloth maker, an expert in the newest and the most important of England's industries at the time. Another provincial was the shipman. Another provincial was the shipman, owner and master mariner. All these were of some rank. They would have servants at home, and they would demand and enjoy a high local prestige. Next below them were the churl folk, of whom the miller was the grandest, his own master with the coveted right to work a mill, a man to give himself airs, the swaggering Simkin of the reeve's tale was such another, with a wife as dignified as water in a ditch. And then came the servant class, upper servants like the manciple and the reeve, lower servants like the yeoman and the cook, each pair representing the town and the country between them. At the absolute bottom of the social scale came the country plowman. And bottom though he was nearest among these lay folk to the knight in generous Christianity. The church was also fully and exactly represented. The monk from his monastery, the prioress from her convent, her attendant priest, the village parson, the roaming friar, sufficiently covering the more usual religious categories, the courtly pretensions of the prioress, and the humble origins of the parson, showed the comparative unimportance of personal rank in the religious life. So, somewhere between the lay folk and the churchmen, इनके बीच में कौन आता है? Came the clerk of Oxford to represent the universities, a poor scholar who as yet had got no benefits. At an infinite moral and social depth, below all these came the pardoner. आपने पढ़ा होगा पार्टनर के बारे में, उसके बाद समनर के बारे में. The pardoner did perhaps enjoy a certain prestige founded on superstition. Yes, but his natural level was with the summoner, his friend and his compeer. वो ओरिजिनल में कहता है quote unquote. Both were laymen, hangers on to the church, and both were hated. Because we are discussing, I am teaching you the prologue, appreciation of it. So the session which I am delivering you is, will be one of the most important, content rich for you to understand, because without this, none of the answers could be written to excel and to qualify in every question. जैसे बूंद बूंद करके कोई भी घड़ा भरता है, तो ये बूंद बूंद करके जो सिस्टम आपको मैं समझाता हूँ, पढ़ाता हूँ, लिखाता हूँ, यही मेथड है, यही सिचुएशन है कि कैसे आज के इस हाई कंपटीशन वर्ल्ड में हम अपने को इस प्रकार से अग्रसर रखें, आगे रखें कि हम अपनी मंजिल तक पहुंचने में कामयाब हो सकें. और उस मंजिल तक पहुंचने में अगर आपसे कोई त्रुटि हो रही है, तो उस त्रुटि को अपने उस प्रोफेसर से, उन लोगों तक पहुंचने की कोशिश करिए जिनको इस बात का ज्ञान है कि क्या मिस्टेक्स हो सकती हैं, जैसा कि मैं समय समय पे आपको ऑलरेडी बता रहा हूं. So for all the methodical selection and artistic skill that must have gone to the presenting of these characters, it was a great triumph to have made them appear so gloriously haphazard in their congregation. आप जब ऐसे शब्दों का प्रयोग करेंगे with a good phraseology and woven sentences, the examiner will feel, wow, you are different from the mass. And this was partly by the stroke of genius that could imagine the only two places in England where they would all be likely to meet in equal terms, and in Haberdin जिसका नाम है, and a cathedral, and the circumstances of pilgrimage that could credibly unite them for a common purpose, and that common purpose is to visit the shrine of the martyr Thomas à Becket. The journey between the two would be an occasion for their diversity, for their diverse tales, Chaucer himself could be on such a pilgrimage, and he could thus place himself inconspicuously at the heart of the poem. He had found a form absolutely perfect for his special talents. But there is something deeper than either form or talent in the prologue. That deeper thing was his attitude to the created world, the devices of craftsmanship and ingenuity were only the consequences of his particular attitude. He had always taken joy in the created world, a joy mixed with wonder. The simplicity of his delight in things for being what they were was qualified by an acute and questioning intelligence, which was in turn qualified by a gravely comic personal humility. So, Chaucer has a trick in some descriptions of pointing observations by a series of footnotes or afterthoughts. जैसे वो कहता है किसके लिए मॉन्क के लिए कहता है he was not pale as a four-pined goose, a fat swan loved he best of any roost. His palfrey was as brown as is a bear. Only one character is presented by the technique of Troilus and Cressida, and that one of the most important is Harry Bailey. And who is Harry Bailey? The host. Like Pandarus, ये example जरूर दीजिएगा, आपको 9 out of 10 मिल जाएगा. Like Pandarus, he is built up out of what he does, says, rather than what he looks like. The same miracle of clarity and fullness is achieved. The spiritual power of a jest for actual life shows itself not only in the plenty and the variety of Chaucer's pilgrims, but especially in their normality. He did not exaggerate or look for freaks. He delighted in the world as he found it. Incapable of a stale vision, he also had the perennial happiness of touch, described by Dryden as belonging only to a master. Zest in experience, clarity in language are the outstanding qualities of the prologue. मैंने लास्ट में क्या बोला बच्चों? नोट कर लीजिए, ये आपको लिखना है. Zest in experience and clarity in language are the two outstanding qualities of the prologue. Chaucer's delight in normality is what chiefly differentiates from Dickens, with whom he has so often been compared. Dickens is a master of the eccentric, and when we think of him, a wonderful group of fabulously erratic figures come to mind. Adorable, grotesque, monsters of iniquity, paragons of pathos, of optimism, cunning, meanness, benevolence. Everything is in untamable, romantic excess, Macawers, Mantellans, Fagins, Pickwicks, Pecksniffs, and many other giants of comic or terrible eccentricity have been created by him. The very waiters at wayside inns, the tramps on the road have their violent idiosyncrasies. But, Chaucer's world is almost freak free. His characters perfectly life size. Only the wife of Bath seems larger and louder than life, but she is undoubtedly a special case. So, my dear students, I hope that this brief lecture would make you understand that how Sir teaches in his classes, that genuine lectures, that content rich classes, that in depth knowledge, that that complexities and the in depth understanding of the core subject with the question answer writing, with the in depth knowledge to solve the pre examinations where you are going to get the MCQs. Now, in this same session, I'm going to teach you, yeah, ask you the questions related to the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, or you can say Chaucer in totality. Fine. तो जरा से चौसर का क्वेश्चंस लगा दीजिए. Now, see, my dear students, this is the question answer round of the Chaucer, which I have just taught about the prologue. Now, I would also like to tell you that आजकल एग्जाम्स जो प्री एंड मेंस मोड में आ गए हैं. So, with this handling, you will also understand that how to qualify pre with the genuine questions and the knowledge of every topic and the detailing, so that once you qualify pre, you are in a position to qualify the mains by writing your good answers. So, the question number 1 on the screen about the Chaucer plot to the Canterbury Tales. Who was the first poet buried in the Poet's Corner? आई एम श्योर कि आप लोग सभी को पता होगा, लेकिन बिकॉज शुरुआत ऐसे ही होती है, सो दैट इज वाई आई एम गिविंग यू दिस वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन. हु वॉज द फर्स्ट पोएट टू बी बरेड? देखिए, the first poet to be buried in Poet's Corner is Geoffrey Chaucer. Fine. Now, because the age is same, so the second question is, the Black Death was a literary intellectual movement, a social movement, the terrible plague bringing poverty and unrest, and a revolt against Edward III. A revolt against Edward III. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 का आंसर बताइए। क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 का आंसर क्या होगा स्टूडेंट्स? क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 का आंसर यस, दिस इज द टेरेबल प्लेग bringing poverty and unrest. Now, question number 3. किंग रिचर्ड, देखिए ये हिस्ट्री के क्वेश्चन आ गया, उसी एज से रिलेटेड है। King Richard II succeeded to the crown in 1377. I have taught in the class when I was teaching in the history part. I told you about the Edward III, the Richard II, then Edward IV. किस सेशन में कौन आया कौन गया, दिस ऑल हैज टू बी नोन बाय यू। तो क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 का आंसर क्या है? यस, इट इज 1377. Now, question number 4. Chaucer's The Romance of the Rose. See, a very important question. It is a ballad. It is a lengthy allegorical poem. It is a satire on society, or it is an ode on transition. क्या होगा? Yes, it is a lengthy allegorical poem. It is a lengthy allegorical poem. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं और क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 पे चलते हैं। ये देखिए, the right answer is William D. Lawrence and Dean G. Myong. Fine. Now, question number 6. Troilus in Cressida is Chaucer's long poem adapted from, बताइए, adapted from, yes, Boccaccio. Adapted from Boccaccio. Yes, question number 6. See, Chaucer's poem, The House of Fame, is written in iambic pentameter, octosyllabic couplet, free words, or blank words. Any idea? Any idea? Question number 7. How many of you can tell me question number 7? Yes, it is octosyllabic couplet. Fine. नाउ वी मूव ऑन टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 8। ये देखिए, बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चंस हैं। ये देखिए क्वेश्चन नंबर 8, बताइए। चौसर का जो पहला अटेम्प्ट है इन इंग्लिश टू यूज द हीरोइक कपलेट, दिस इज सी हीरोइक कपलेट, occur in which of the following poems? Occur in which of the following poems? Prologue to the Canterbury Tales, Tale of Melibœus, The Legend of Good Women, or The Lack of Steadfastness? Question number 8. Any idea? Yes, it is The Legend of Good Women. Correct? Question number 9. The pilgrims in Chaucer's prologue to the Canterbury Tales go on a pilgrimage on the tomb of, देखिए मैंने पढ़ाया था आपको, and that is Saint Thomas A. Becket. I am just giving you a survey so that you may be able to know कि तैयारी कैसे करते हैं. Chaucer virtually imported the desyllabic line in his poetry from, yes, it is France. It is France. Zero. Zero. Question number 11. ये देखिए, Chaucerian 7-line stanza, Chaucerian 7-line stanza in English poetry is also known as, ये तो आपको पता ही होगा, rhyme royal. Yes, rhyme royal. ये देखिए क्वेश्चन नंबर 12. He cleansed over what and end long with iron tough and fought to make it strong. Every pillar the temple of sustain was some great and iron bright and sheen. These lines occur in. ये लाइन किस में अकर करती है? ये देखिए फिर से आगे बढ़ा रहा हूँ. ये लाइन कौन से उसमें है? क्वेश्चन नंबर 12, द नाइट्स टेल. सो माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आई एम श्योर कि आपको ये पता चल गया होगा इस करीब 50 मिनट 1 घंटे के सेशन में कि कोई भी बैचेस हो, कोई भी एग्जाम्स हो, जीडीसी का हो, जीआईसी का हो, यूजीसी नेट का हो, यूपीएससी का हो, डीएसएसबी का हो, द क्वालिटी हैज़ टू बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट. चाहे वो पहले प्री करना हो, मेंस करना हो. और जब हमें मेंस करना होता है तो प्री क्वालिफाई करके जाना होता है, और प्री और मेंस के बीच में टाइम कम मिलता है. तो पहले से ही आपकी तैयारी इतनी अच्छी रहे कि हमारे एक लेक्चर में जो इन डेप्थ स्टडी होती है दैट इज गोइंग टू क्वालिफाई यू प्री, एंड व्हेन यू गो इनटू द मेंस दैट लेवल ऑफ नॉलेज मेक्स यू राइट गुड आंसर्स. फाइन. सो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब और लाइक कर लीजिए. इन केस ऑफ एनी गाइडेंस द नंबर इज गिवन ऑन द स्क्रीन.